Hello, my name is Dr. Ron Vender, and I am a dermatologist in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And I am welcoming you to this quick take 10 for the International Psoriasis Council on network meta-analysis and what it means for us. These are my relevant disclosures. This was all based on a paper by April Armstrong and others, friends of mine and colleagues, and also members of International Psoriasis Council, looking at the comparative efficacy and relative ranking of biologics and oral therapies for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, looking at this network meta-analysis. This is the second paper of such. This one was from early in the year of 2021. The objective was really to look at comparative efficacy of EMA or FDA approved therapies that are biologics or oral therapies for moderate to severe psoriasis, and looking at early responses as well as late responses. The early responses from 10 to 16 weeks, the short term, and later responses of 48 to 52 weeks. This was a systematic literature review of randomized controlled trials that are either phase 2, 3, or 4, and looking at PASI 75, 90, and 100, again, in the short term and long term from baseline. Overall, the short term results from 10 to 16 weeks, which is sort of the induction period or when most of the dose is given initially, were found that the PASI 90 response, meaning a patient clear or almost clear, was in this group of molecules or biologics consisting of different types of anti-IL-17, anti-IL-17 receptor, and anti-IL-23s. These were the three highest that this group really came out on top. Looking at PASI 100 or patients that were completely clear, again, these three biologics were obviously the winners, or the ones that showed the highest chance of having a PASI 100, and they were really all about the same. Let's look at this in a table form, and you can see here the PASI 75, the PASI 90, and the PASI 100 all tied in this group here of, again, an anti-IL-17, an anti-IL-23, and an anti-IL-17 receptor biologic for the treatment of moderate to severe psoriasis. So this shows the highest chance of patients achieving a PASI 75, PASI 90, or PASI 100. This is looking at it in a histogram form, and I'm going to simplify it for you very, very shortly. But again, this group of brodalumab, risankizumab, and ixekizumab came out on top for the highest chance of seeing the PASI 75, 90, and 100. In addition to this, numbers needed to treat can be shown in the paper, and I'll leave you to look at that. Long term, we had a little bit different type of results. We had, for PASI 90, a patient clear or almost clear. Risankizumab at 85%, followed by brodalumab closely at 78.8%, guselkumab 78.1%, and again, ixekizumab at 72.1%, as well as secukinumab 67%. In other words, the group of risankizumab, brodalumab, and guselkumab together showed the highest chance of achieving that PASI 90. For PASI 100, a little bit tighter, showing that risankizumab was a 65.4% chance of achieving a PASI 100, brodalumab 78.1%, and guselkumab 54.8%. This is looking in a table form, which you can look up in the paper. I'm going to show you a simplified form coming up. This is the long-term results again, showing this group of biologics, the ixekizumab, guselkumab, brodalumab, and risankizumab. Again, anti-IL-17s and anti-IL-23s having the highest chance of having a PASI 90 or PASI 100 in the long term. Unfortunately, there are, of course, limitations in looking at this. The study conduct was a bit different, and the patient populations are not exactly the same as well. There are differences in trial design, population, and differences between patients in trials and also the real world, of course. And there is lack of PASI responses beyond a year that is shown, and that was looked at, and therefore there may be differences. Again, as we know, PASI is one aspect of representing the patient's improvement, whereas quality of life can also be as something that can be looked at, as well as other patient-reported outcomes. I had thought that we should simplify things, and I will show you here this 90-70-40 rule. The 90-70-40 rule was thought about as something of a coincidence. We all know the keystone rule of ACR 20, 50, and 70 being 60, 40, 20. So a 60% chance of having an ACR 20, a 40% chance of having an ACR 50, and a 20% chance of having an ACR 70. This 90-70-40 rule sort of is in that light, showing PASI 75 chance, PASI 90 chance, and PASI 100 chance is sort of a guide. And here you can see in the table form on the right side that we have this group of biologics, Broda, Riz, and ICSI, showing that there is about a 90% chance of PASI 75, a 70% chance of PASI 90, again for brodalumab, risankizumab, and ixekizumab, and a 40% chance of PASI 100, brodalumab, risankizumab, and ixekizumab. Some of my colleagues in Canada are calling it the Vender rule of 90-70-40, an easy way to remember the biologics and their responses for PASI 75, 90, and 100. When looking long term, again, we have the same rule of 90-70-40, a 90% chance of having a PASI 75, and now we're seeing it very, very close with ICSI and Broda as the anti-IL-17s, and guselkumab and risankizumab as the anti-IL-23s. 70% chance of PASI 90, again, for ixekizumab, guselkumab, brodalumab, and risankizumab. And we can see that secukinumab here is very, very close to these, showing its efficacy as well. And for 40% chance of PASI 100, we have all of our anti-IL-17s and all of our anti-IL-23s that were analyzed, showing that risankizumab, brodalumab, guselkumab, ixekizumab, and secukinumab are all tied and all reaching 40% PASI 100. We can see that there are, of course, variations, and that is helping our patients achieve a better chance of achieving a PASI 75, PASI 90, clear or almost clear, or PASI 100. So I hope that you like this rule that we may call the Vender rule of 90-70-40 for our biologics for efficacy. With this, I want to thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you stay safe. Thank you, and take care.